I'm not gonna lie to you, when I started making this build, it was mainly just for fun, but this thing started to come out amazing. Now, as you saw in the thumbnail, this build is all about being the master of debuffs. This build will allow you to have permanent debuffs on enemies pretty much anywhere in the entire game. Large groups of enemies, bosses, anything you need to do, they're going to be blinded, weakened, and even become volatile to make them extremely easy to kill for you and your teammates. This is not only an extremely good support based build, but it's also really good offensively, because if you are playing into it correctly, you're going to have volatile rounds and a 22% damage increase permanently. If that build sounds interesting to you, you can find a full in-depth breakdown with pictures over on Mobalytics. I know a lot of y'all like to have everything just on one screen, even while watching the video, so be sure to head down to all the links in the description and check it out. But hey, are you in the market for a brand new gaming PC? Well, look no further than my custom line of Apex gaming PCs. All of these are price optimized to run Destiny 2 at a great performance, and you can completely customize it the way you want to if you would like to swap anything out. All the links that you'll need are in the description of this video, and remember that you can save up to $250 when you use code REST at checkout. But all right, jumping right into it, I think the first thing we need to go over is actually our exotic helmet, because this is what's going to play heavily into this build. This is Felwinter's helmet and it has the exotic perk Warlord's End. Power melee final blows create a burst of energy that weaken nearby targets. Finishers and final blows against more powerful targets increase the radius of the burst and the length of the weakening effect. So what this exotic is going to do when you get a melee kill or a finisher, and with this build we're mainly going to be focused on finishers, you will make a burst of energy that is not only going to blind enemies, but it will also apply a 30% debuff to those enemies as well. Depending on the type of enemy you kill, this debuff can last from 5 all the way to 20 seconds. And this is very good for general ad clear, because if you just get a finisher off and there's a huge group of enemies around the target you finish, everything's going to become weakened and blind, and it makes them really easy to kill. On top of that, if you finish an enemy right beside a boss, you apply one of the highest debuffs in the game to that boss, which is very, very cool, and it makes it a very versatile exotic. Like I said in the beginning, I was mainly making this build for fun with some interactions we'll get into later, but after using it for a while, I can honestly see the true potential of how strong this exotic can be, and I think it definitely deserves to be recognized. Now, the best way we're going to play into that is with our Voidwalker subclass, and we're going to be running the aspects Feed the Void and Child of the Old Gods. Since this build's all about mastering debuffs, Child of the Old Gods is going to also allow you to debuff enemies. So this is cast your Rift to create a Void Soul. When you damage a target with a weapon, your Void Soul flies to them and drains them, doing damage and weakening them. And at the bottom is defeating a target who is being drained by your Void Soul grants class ability energy. Now we'll get more into the middle part in a second once we get into our actual class ability. So what this is going to do, it's going to shoot out, and it's going to have a pretty large radius and last around 13 seconds, and it's going to apply a 15% damage debuff. Now obviously the 15% isn't as strong as 30%, but if you're in a situation where you can't get a finisher off, or if a target is at a longer range away, you can throw your Rift down, throw this out, and you're still going to be applying a bunch of debuffs to enemies. So what's really cool with this is that when you kill those tethered targets, you also get class ability energy back, which just means you can spam this even more often. Now the other aspect is Feed the Void. So defeating a target with a Void ability activates Devour. While Devour is active, final blows restore health and extend Devour. So if you don't know what Devour is, it is extremely strong. Once you get a kill, you're going to heal to full, and you're constantly going to be refilling your grenade, which is going to be really, really nice. It helps out a ton with survivability, and also being able to just throw some extra grenades to do some extra damage is also really good. Now speaking of grenades, I'm going to be running the Scatter Grenade because this actually did get a cooldown reduction with the launch of Lightfall. So pairing that with Devour, you'll just have it up a lot more often. And Scatter Grenades are really good for just doing a bunch of single target damage. If you just need to take down a major a little bit faster, you can just throw one of these out, because you're pretty much going to have unlimited of them with Devour active. Pocky Singularity is our only melee, but what's really cool is that this is a range melee, which will help pair with Felwinter's Helm. If a target is a little further away, you can't get a finisher. This just means it'll kill them, and this melee also makes enemies volatile, which is just an added little bonus. Now for class ability, I'm going to be running Healing Rift. Empowering Rift is also good if you are pairing that with Child of the Old God, so you can obviously do more damage with a debuff and then with a buff. But Healing Rift is just really, really good, obviously, for survivability. And then if you pair this with Child of the Old Gods, when your targets are being drained, they will grant you grenade and melee energy. If you are running Empowering Rift, you will be granted health. So whichever one you want to go for, I just like Healing Rift to get even more class ability energy back, with its other benefit of when I kill drained enemies, I will get class ability energy. So it just makes it really, really useful to spam Child of the Old Gods in in that way. So that's why I typically run Healing Rift. Now for super, I do run Cataclysm. This is just the highest damage Nova Bomb. It is really good if you are weak in an enemy. Just to throw a Nova Bomb, it can do a huge chunk of damage. It kind of works as your bigger scatter grenade if you just need to take down a tankier target. Now for fragments, this is where things get interesting because we're going to be running Echo of Cessation. So finish your final blows, create a burst of void damage that causes nearby combatants to become volatile. Defeating volatile targets create a void breach. So this is a brand new fragment. So now when we get finishers, we will make enemies volatile, and if we defeat those targets, we're getting void breaches. And if you don't know what void breaches do, they're going to give you class ability energy, and since we do have a heavy focus on trying to keep our class ability up, this is just going to further help increase the regeneration of it, so we can keep spamming Child of the Old Gods even more as well. Now since your finishers are going to make enemies volatile, that means pairing that with your helmet, you're going to weaken, debuff, and make enemies volatile just by getting one finisher off with this helmet equipped. It is extremely easy to take down large groups of enemies if you are pairing all that together, and even again putting it on a boss just will do some extra damage, which is really nice. Now the next fragment is Echo of Reprisal. So final blows when surrounded by combatants create super energy. This is honestly one you can swap out if you want to. If you want to run Echo of Undermining so your grenade can actually weaken enemies, so you kind of have your melee finisher and grenade doing things alongside your class ability, that is a good option. But I didn't want that negative 20 discipline, honestly, even though you do have Devour. So this is something you could swap out, but since I'm mainly trying to get in on a bunch of enemies to finish them, I'm going to be surrounded anyway, so this will just grant me some bonus super energy so I can throw more Nova Bombs out. Now the next one is Echo of Obscurity. So finisher final blows grant invisibility. So playing into more of the finisher route, obviously we're making enemies volatile with this fragment, and then we're going to be blinding and weakening enemies with our exotic helmet. We will now also just go invisible so we can get out of an area if we need to, so we can just survive after going in on a large group of enemies. This is very good for our higher end content, so once again you can get that finisher and you will be safe to get out. We will play into this more once we get into our mods to make that playstyle even easier in higher end game content, but for now just know you will go invisible every time you get a finisher. Then finally I'm running Echo of Persistence. So void buffs applied to you, invisibility, overshow, and devour have increased duration. So this is just an overall nice buff to have. It makes your invisibility last a little bit longer, it makes your devour last a little bit longer, which are going to be pretty much on you permanently at all times. Now stats for this build, I would highly recommend 100 resilience for that 30% damage reduction. 100 recovery is also going to be your best way to go for spamming Child of the Old Gods. If you can get to 100 strength, that would be cool to further play into your exotic helmet, but honestly these other stats don't matter anywhere as much as resilience and recovery, so that is definitely what I would try to prioritize. Now jumping into artifact mods, these don't matter as much for this build, but there are some fun things that will play into it. The main one that matters the most is volatile flow. So we pick up an orb, we will get volatile rounds for all our void weapons. You can further increase it with things like Bricks from Beyond, so you can make more heavy since we're mainly using void weapons. And prismatic transfer is nice because if we are just going to throw out Nova Bombs a lot, that means all our teammates that aren't running void subclasses will get a 20% damage buff for 10 seconds, but it is definitely not needed. The main one you really want to worry about is volatile flow, and then maybe Bricks from Beyond, and Shadow Orbs is a nice little touch to throw in there too. Now weapons with this build, the only real requirement is to have a void weapon, so obviously take advantage of volatile flow. Any will work. I'm just running a funnel web right now, and for power I do like running a Leviathan's Breath. This just does a ton of damage. It has a lot of ammo. It's honestly probably my favorite heavy weapon in the current season right now, and once we get late into some of our mods, having void weapons also is still going to be an extremely nice benefit, so that's pretty much your only requirement. I do have a Riptide with Choke Club just so I can stun Overload and Unstoppable champions, and overall it's still probably one of the best special weapons in the game in my opinion, and it is really fun if I just need to freeze anything. So overall this is a really solid loadout, and just make sure you have a void weapon. But getting into mods, these are the ones I'm going to be running, and starting off with our helmet, I'm going to be running a void siphon. So when I get rapid void weapon final blows, I'll make an orb of power. Obviously this is going to pair really well if you are running void weapons. Getting those orbs will get you armor charge, which does play a very significant part in this build. Now I do also have an ashes to assets on here, so I'll get some bonus super energy when I get grenade kills. Since I'm going to be able to spam grenades a lot, this is pretty fun to take. Then I will also be running a dynamo, so whenever I cast my class ability, I will get even more super energy, which is going to be really good since I can spam my class ability as well. Pairing those together, you'll just get a bunch of extra super energy and from your fragment, and you can spam Nova Bombs a lot more often. If you want to run double ashes to assets, you can, or if you could also run double dynamo if you have enough energy, that's also a good option to do as well. Now for arms, I'm running a void loader, so I can reload all my void weapons a little bit faster, a firepower power, so when I get a grenade kill, it will make an orb, and then bolster detonation, so when I do grenade damage, it will get me some class ability energy. Since I'm going to be able to spam grenades a lot with Devour, this just means I can make orbs with firepower. Also, I'm going to be granted even more Child of the Old God energy, which is very, very nice. And again, orbs of power will make you armor charge, which are going to play a huge part of the build. Now, for your chest piece, you can run pretty much any resistant mods you want to. Just always swap these out for whatever you're going into. And then for boots, I do have 3 Void Weapon Surges on. This is going to give you a 22% damage increase permanently, and this does stack with buffs. You just have to have armor charge. This will decay over time. You can have up to 3 armor charge stacks, and if you wanted to take out one of your resist mods to run something like charged up, so you can actually increase the amount of armor charges you have, that could be cool, so you can have a longer damage duration. But with the amount of orbs you're making, it's honestly not that necessary, and I pretty much would always recommend just running an extra resist mod, because you will just have pretty much permanent increase on your void damage. And then obviously that will also pair with volatile flow, so that's why it's very beneficial to run void weapons. Now, funny enough, the bond is where it gets really interesting. That is because of the fact we're going to be running proximity ward, so gain a powerful overshield while performing your finisher. So this just means now, out of everything we've already talked about with our finisher, now we're also going to be granted an overshield. So just as a recap, we're going to blind, we're going to weaken, we're going to make enemies volatile, we're also going to go invisible, and we're also going to be granted an overshield while doing all that for survivability, which is very, very nice. You can go in, get that overshield. When you get that finisher, you won't die in harder in-game content. Go invisible, get out of there, everything's debuffed and ready to go. Now, on top of that, we're also going to be running a healthy finisher. So finishers heal you, and it will consume 1 stack of armor charge. Since we have so many ways to make armor charge, and since just picking up any orb from your teammates can also get you armor charge, you can pretty much have this permanently up as well. So now when you get a finisher, you're going to heal to full. This mod is extremely strong, especially pairing it with proximity ward, because now again, for that survivability, you go in, you get that overshield, you come out with full health and invisible. It is really, really good. Then finally, I am running a Reaper, so after I use my class ability, I will make an overpower on a weapon kill. Since the whole point of Child of the Old Gods is to kind of cast your class ability and to kill whatever enemy that it is draining its life force from, since it's weakened, you will make an orb now, so that will also further help with armor charge to help out with healthy finisher and void weapon surge. So overall, all you're really trying to do is finish enemies so you can apply blind, a 30% debuff, volatile, become invisible, get an overshield, and also heal yourself all in just 1 click of a button. You're also going to be making a bunch of void breaches to help further increase the uptime of Child of the Old Gods, and also making a bunch of orbs of power to increase your damage up with all your void weapons, alongside having volatile rounds for him all the time. This build is extremely strong in my opinion, and is definitely something I would recommend you all give it a shot. If you were curious, this is the transmog I'm running. If you all would like to copy it down and make your warlock look like this, I tried to make a stealthy option, because the main point is to kind of get in there, get a finisher off, and get out with invisibility, and then kind of have everything just debuffed at your own will. But that is going to do it all for me. Let me know what you all think about this build in the comments below. Have you slept on Felwinter's Helm? Do you think it's kind of just a useless exotic? Because honestly, with the add density coming up in the game from every single season to season, it seems to get more powerful, and it is a very fun option. But anyways, if y'all enjoyed and learned anything, you consider subscribing, drop a like, turn those notifications on. Also, if you like joining my Discord or following any of my socials, all that will be linked in the description as well. But just know watching this video is way more than enough, and that every single bit of support from you all is truly appreciated. Thank you all so much for watching this one, and have a great day. Peace.